Newcastle 2, Manchester United 1. Welcome to Red Devil Recap. We are live. Please smash a like on the video. Not a good day, actually. But, you know, do something to cheer me up a little bit, get those likes up. But, yeah, tough loss. And just right off the bat, I mean, initial thoughts, just, you know, we weren't good enough throughout the match. I mean, we were up a man for 45 plus minutes. You know, almost about 55 minutes with the added time. And we didn't do enough. We weren't strong enough. We got exposed. Carrick got exposed. And I think Carrick got exposed in the way of not because of particularly Michael Carrick and him and being a manager. But we did talk about this a little bit during the, you know, watch along. And we were saying, like, you know, leaving the hole in the midfield from last summer, okay, and then doing absolutely nothing in January. And listen, Newcastle has given us a lot of problems over the past couple of years, and they do have a very strong midfield. Their midfield is definitely better than ours, and I think we lost basically the battle of the match in the midfield today. You know, Cass couldn't keep up. Lost the ball multiple times from getting tackled from behind, wasn't quick enough. Kobe at times was a bit of a passenger. And, you know, we couldn't handle it. And Tonali and Joelinton was having an absolute field day and was fucking running all over the place and running right through us. So, you know, and we had to put on Ugarte. And then, you know, Malacia had to come on, which I think was a bit of a problem because Matt Sharpness, the goal came down from his side as well. Maguire didn't do well on that, in that aspect to stop the goal either. Didn't step up quick enough, which is always a bit of his thing where he lacks quickness, speed. You know, I think Lenny had an improved game from what he's given us. Over the past couple games, I think he was a bit stronger today, a bit more confident. You know, and Bruno was just putting in all types of plays and all types of balls, but we couldn't finish. And Buemo had a chance in the first half, was a tap in, shot it over the net. Can't be doing that. And how important maybe that could have been. Sesko didn't have a lot going for him today and was kept very quiet by Newcastle's defense. And it was always going to be a tough game for him. You know, they are quite a good physical side, good in the air. You know, so it was very tough. It was very tough. Get your thoughts, get your feelings in the chat. Let us know what you think of the match, how it went. Sebastian is here, says, hi, mate, 10v11. How do you play like that? Well, that's ultimately the main sort of core thing. The most simplest thing is that, you know, when you look at it in that sense, I mean, it plainly and flatly, it wasn't good enough. We were really poor in that aspect. We didn't do enough, okay? And we left it in a situation that you never want to leave it in. 1-1, okay? Maybe we were a bit fortunate to get that goal in terms of, you know, the referee did let the first half go on longer than I expected. I think many people would say that. Okay, maybe we were a bit fortunate with the red card. I don't know. From what I saw, camera angle wise, didn't look like there was any contact. So I think it would be simulation and a you know, second yellow. But you know, I said it multiple times during the watch along. I said in the second half, you know, I gave it a good 10 minutes to see how it settles. At 60th minute on, it didn't feel like we were up a man. You know, and that says pretty much everything you got to say about the match. It says everything that needs to be said. If you're up a man and it doesn't feel like Newcastle is playing down a man, we're getting outplayed. You know, we were severely getting outplayed. And in fact, I mean, we were struggling to keep up with them, you know, for when they had 11 men on. Them going down to 10 made it a bit more even. We got a bit more of a foothold in the game, but we still couldn't find anything in us to basically go above them. You know, if anything, it put us on par or closer to being on par. And that's not good enough. and that's why we couldn't get the job done. So J Panda Flow says Carrick killed us with substitution, and Ahmad should start the game. Well, here's the thing. I did say that Embuemo didn't have a good game. Okay, it wasn't his game today. He was probably a very poor one. If you compare the game he had to the game that Cunha was having, Cunha was probably our best attacking player for basically the large part of the game. He was the one that was making things happen, using his strength, taking players on, being direct, finding some answers against the Newcastle defense. He looked the most threatening, and Embuemo looked nothing to the level of Cunha. And I was saying that, we started the second half about the 48th minute. I said, first substitute I'm making, I'm bringing on Diallo for Embuemo. Diallo came on really late, and he was not the first substitute. So, Brown Knight says, what did I miss? You missed us lose. Eddie Howe exposed Carrick and Ineos. F off. Well, again, to me, I've been worrying about the depth. I think, and I've said this a couple times. I said, listen, maybe for this season we've been getting away with it a little bit, and maybe we can get away with it a little bit because we're playing one match a week now. Okay, and maybe we could get away with it. But when you get into a match like this, all right, and you need a little bit extra oomph, you need a little bit extra something to give you a game changer. We're very limited. We have very limited options. Really attacking wise players. All we had was Xerxes and Amad Diallo. Okay. And Ugarte coming on for Cass. I mean, did Cass have the best game? No, but is Ugarte going to come in? And I don't think Ugarte is at the level where he's going to come in and he's going to completely change the game for us in the midfield and help us win the ball back a lot more, and then help us with the attack and help us create more, when we're looking for a goal. So, to me, I said it at the time, and, maybe it went away a little bit, but it's come back in now because it's popped back up. And in a situation like this, in a game like this today, if we sign somebody in January, we could, with who you expect to have some talent and obviously be here for the future, maybe even a quality loan. We could have definitely used it. Kobe Mainu got subbed out as well. Carrick went for it, which I think in that aspect, it was the right call as well. I mean, at that point, we didn't have much to lose, did we? So, you kind of got to throw the kitchen sink at it and just say, fuck it. But yeah, Johnny says Carrick deserves a lot of blame today for them terrible subs and not changing anything earlier, to be honest. However, I will give him leeway in the fullback area because we have some of the worst fullbacks. Well, with the fullbacks, I think it's quite clear that Luke Shaw had to come off, okay, because he was sick. So I think Luke Shaw came off because he couldn't do 90 minutes. And I think he was forced into that change. So I think by default, Diego Dalot has to come on. By default, Diego Dalot has to go into right back. By default, Maz has to go into left back. Maz got injured. Maz sustained a knock. Maz had to come off. He's forced into a change to put on Tyrell Malacia. I don't think necessarily he wanted to really make those changes, but he was forced into them. Now, he didn't, again, for me, I would have put on Amad Diallo way earlier for Brian Embuemo. I think that was, to me, probably the biggest one that I would question the most as to why Diallo didn't come on earlier and why Embuemo didn't come off the pitch, because Embuemo just didn't have a good game. And we needed somebody, obviously, it's between Xerxes and it's between Diallo, and Diallo's a winger. Diallo has to come on. We need somebody to have a bigger impact on the right-hand side. He wasn't having that good of a game. Cunha was playing really good. We need somebody to match and change the game from the right-hand side. So, Ramsdale kept him alive, says Brown Knight. Yoro and Xerxes both should have scored. Yeah, Yoro should have scored too. It's a good point. And Xerxes and Ramsdale did very well to keep them in the game. I mean, listen, we had a couple good opportunities. We had a couple good shots. And Ramsdale made some very, very good saves as well. So, So disappointed me. Yeah, I'm disappointed as well. I think we all are, especially with the way that game went. I mean, we knew it was going to be a tough match. We knew that Newcastle weren't just going to get rolled over, and we knew we weren't going to dominate the match in any means. I mean, we talked about it, to the build up to this match, but for us to concede a penalty, for us to go up a man, but then can give away a penalty, which it was a penalty, and go down 1-0, and it looked like we were going to go down 1-0 into the half, and then for us to get the goal off a set piece, which is a very good cross from Bruno Fernandes, another assist for him, and a good header by Casemiro, Uncle Cass, yeah, and it was a really good goal to score, and go in level at 1-1, and, level at 1-1, you're now expecting, all right, get the lads together, get your shit together, let's find an extra gear or two, let's fucking bring the game to them, let's go out, let's get a couple answers, let's get the ball into the back of the net, because all we needed is one at that time, and we flipped the game upside down on the head of Newcastle, all right, and we forced them into a position that is going to be really tough for them in terms of they're down a man, they can no longer defend compact and try and hit us on the counter. I mean, they can, but they're down a man, and we just have to do our job, and you sort of forced them into a position where they have no choice but to open themselves up, and we could then be in a position to take advantage of that. And unfortunately, we came out and we couldn't find that extra gear. We never found it. It just wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough by any means. So, yeah. Hope you're right. Remind me of the Everton game, 10v11. Yeah, and it has a little bit of a similar feel to that. It does. I will say, though, in the Everton match, I mean, we did absolutely fuck all in the match. I mean, we were almost basically walking, and we basically didn't know what we were doing. In this match, at least there was a bit more effort behind it. It just wasn't good enough. I sound like an idiot repeating that, probably, but that's just what it was, like plain flat and simple. Like, we made a couple opportunities. We didn't take the opportunities well. We missed a couple chances that you expect to score a goal from. You can't afford to do that in that situation. We left ourselves open to basically what happened was a counterattack. All right, we played a little bit risky. It was a bad giveaway. They hit us with the pace on the counter, and they went right down Malacia's side. And, you got a player that is basically not supposed to be at this club. All right, hasn't played next to none minutes or matches, very little. He's not match sharp. He struggled to run back. One, he's not as fast, but two, he just struggled to get back. Was completely, not set in his footing, in his positioning. Got beat, and then you had the other guy, Maguire, who is the guy that lacks a bit of agility or pace, and, he wasn't able to react quick enough to that Newcastle player. I don't even know his name. And listen, he took a really good shot. It was excellent. You're not going to save that. The pace on that, the curl on it to hit it right around Maguire. The only way Maguire's stopping that is if he took a step or 2 seconds before he did. He needed to get up there quicker. He didn't. He was a bit slow to react to it. And go, and they steal the game from us in a certain sense. More intent from them. Cunha and Bummer, etc. were shit. No, listen, I think Cunha was good. I think Cunha had a good game. Cunha was the only one that was sort of making things happen. He was the only one that was sort of threatening. I mean, there was a lot of times where, listen, it was still tough. Okay, he was getting doubled up, tripled up in times, and Newcastle were doing a very good job of that. Our wingers, who, the game plan is to check in to receive the ball. Newcastle were doing a very good job of swarming our wingers when they're checking in. 2-3 players on them at all times. One in the back, one in the front, one coming from, left or right of them. And they had a very tough time in that way. And that was the one thing as well, tactically. I was like, listen, they know we're doing that, and they're beating us at it. We need to switch it up in that aspect. We need to start sending them running. They need to start running. They need to start pushing the line back, going in behind, and maybe we start sending some balls over the top to the wing, and let them run in behind, because this sort of coming short thing, we were getting destroyed by it. They had our number on it. Okay, they knew we like to do that. They identified that, and they set up their game plan to make sure that they stopped us from using the width, which we obviously want to do and which we like to do. So. Brown Knight says everyone is an expert after a loss. It's our first loss of the year in March. Give it a rest. Well, listen, what I will say is on Michael Carrick, okay? And I can't be, listen, I'm not too mad. I am disappointed, okay? But we've done these before where I've been furious, okay? And you know, you could tell by my sort of demeanor. All right, I'm a bit flat voiced, okay? I'm a bit, you know, I'm sad, I'm disappointed. But in the bigger picture sort of thing, like Brown Knight is saying, I mean, Carrick's come in, he's done well. We were never going to go undefeated. We were going to suffer a loss. I think it's good that, you know, if you maybe you're trying to find a bit of light in maybe the darkness type of thing, it can be a good thing to sort of bring us back down to a little bit of, you know, bring us back down to earth a little bit, in that, you know, and our community has done a good job about this. We've been talking about this, and we've been saying that, like, by no means that this team is perfect, and by no means is this team close to going to being a machine. Okay, we still have a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of holes that need to be filled or fixed. And that's why we've been putting a lot of emphasis and focus, you know, for the summer that's coming up and for next season. So, you know, I think this just, it just shows, like, listen, we've done really well under Carrick. Carrick's done really well coming in. I think he's done better than, you know, and I'll say this again, and I'm sure there's always somebody out there that says, I said it. Sure you did, whatever it is. But what I'm trying to say is, I don't think anybody expected Carrick to have the record and the amount of points he got when he first came in. Okay, or when it was announced that he was going to take over, and to do what he did so far was really good. We suffered, you know, to me, it's an embarrassing loss today to lose to a team that is down a man with a red card. To lose it late like that as well, definitely stings, definitely hurts. Okay, we've done that to many teams. We're usually the ones, you know, in historic fashion, I guess you could say, we're usually the ones that are doing it to teams. It doesn't feel so nice when it happens to you, does it? And I guess you can understand why everybody hates us a little bit more. You can understand it a little bit more because we've done it to so many teams over so many periods of years. But yeah, I think it's sort of a good thing. And in terms of, it brings us back to a little bit of reality that there is a lot of work still left to do. Ineos have a lot of work still left to do. You know, you play a team like this, okay, their midfield is better than ours. Their midfield has, I think Lawrence said it on the watch along, their midfield has been better than ours for the last 2-3 years plus. Okay, their midfield is better than ours. And I think we lost the game because of that. We couldn't handle it. We couldn't sustain it. Our finishing is so poor. Bruno put 4 or 5 chances on a plate in the second half. Tell that to Chad, Box. Tell that to your good friend Chad, okay? Because I was finishing up the watch along, and Chad immediately, probably lurking in the background, waiting for the final whistle, waiting for the loss, so he could come and say, you guessed it, first comment about how Bruno is shit, which beats me, but all right. We need new fullbacks. We really can't stick with Luke and Delo. Yeah, you know what? Maybe you guys are onto something about that. You know, I don't know. I mean, we'll see in a bit. We'll see what Carrick has to say. I'm guessing that Luke just couldn't do 90 minutes and had to come off. And Delo had to come on, but Delo, again, I mean, you know, from the other day when we played the other match and the subs came on and had a positive impact, And I'm kind of holding Delo to that standard, and I'm saying, well, you were starting and you've been dropped, okay, and rightfully so, because you had the worst performance out of everybody from that last match, all right. And I'm looking, you come on, and I'm looking for you to have some sort of positive impact, and he made a stupid couple fouls decisions. There was one where we had them pinned in their own corner, and I called it before he did it. I said, don't foul him. You don't need to foul him. I said, we got him pinned in there. He's got no options. They're going to give us the ball back. And what does he do? He grabs his arm and he grabs his jersey in front of the linesman, who's literally 2 feet away from him, fouls him and gives them an out. You know, and these are little things like that, you know, just make a difference in totality. Mbeumo was very poor, like his pre-AFCON form looks like an Anthony on his form. Yeah, he wasn't good today. He was very off of it. Was lacking sharpness. He did not look like the player that we've seen him be over the course of time. So yeah, it just wasn't his game. That's why I was asking for him to get subbed off. I think he needed to get subbed off. And if that's one thing about substitutions that I will give blame to Carrick or criticize Carrick for, is that one. I think there was no justification being made from Mbeumo's end for him to be on the pitch well into like the 73rd, 75th minute. I think he should have been out by the 60th minute. And Diallo should have came on, because in reality, Diallo, it's not even like Diallo's been playing bad in terms of, you say like Diallo's bad and he deserves to get benched or something. It's just that, I can understand starting in Mbeumo and Cunha, because again, Newcastle are physical. They're very physical and they're good with the physicality. And, you know, Mbeumo does tend to have better physicality than Ahmad, and so does Cunha, and Cunha showed it throughout the match. But Mbeumo just wasn't at it today. I mean, he missed a sitter and he just wasn't really that threatening. You know, he really wasn't that threatening. He was a bit flat. So I think for those circumstances, you know, Mbeumo's not playing well. And Diallo he's just a guy that basically got the short end of the stick. You know, it wasn't really about performances. It wasn't really about, you know, what he was doing on the pitch. It's just how it was. So I think to wait to put on Diallo till the 75th minute, I don't really agree with that. I think that was a mistake. I think he should have came on way earlier. You know, in my opinion. Holland ball, a Southgate ball behind Michael, and maybe Ollie ball too. But behind them is Wilcox letting the training slack off after the Arsenal victory, which was Ruben's legacy. Mbeumo was our top scorer pre-AFCON. You need to calm down on. Oh, yeah, that was the box. Ask Eric when I show up. Shaw was booked. He was booked, but I don't know if that was why he took him off. We'll see. We'll find out. Guys, please smash the like button. Let's get those numbers up. We got a good amount of people watching. The likes are not replicating the viewers. Greatly appreciated. It is a massive help for the channel. So cheer me up a little bit, guys, please. Please, don't let the likes fall flat like our performance fell flat, all right? Bruno was one of the few who had a good game. Yeah, he was making things happen. All right, he put in, like, I think like Box said, he put in like 4 or 5 good crosses into the box, and they were like fucking pinpoint and right to your player, and in dangerous, you know, positions that you want the player to receive the ball and you want the ball to go to them, and we didn't have the finishing boots. And it's a bit of the, you know, that's one of the things that we need to continue to work on and kind of fix and kind of strengthen, is that we still have this aspect in us, okay? And maybe, you know, I think it has to do with, we got to update the quality of player we have. But then also, I think, you know, the other aspect is the players that we don't necessarily update and that are going to stay here, they have to improve on it as well. Because there's been a few games that we've scored 2 or 3 goals, and, you know, we look very good in the attacking sense. And then there's been a couple games where we've sort of struggled to score goals. and it just seems to go kind of very up and down. And we need to find a little bit more consistency in the high of it. Because I think over the past couple matches, right, we put 2 against Palace, but 1 was a pen, and we needed a pen to get the second. Okay, otherwise we would have had 1 goal. We had 1 against Everton, and we scored 1 against West Ham. So, and today we scored 1 against Newcastle. So it's in the recent form, it's been a bit of a trend. And these are the teams that they are a bit tougher, whether they're a bit more physical or they're a bit more structured in their space and they're a bit tighter in their shape and they don't allow a lot of space. And that's been translating to a lack of goals. And I've always been one that I put a major emphasis on the goals. I think the goals is definitely the most important. If you could figure out how to score 3, you're golden. You should be good. You shouldn't, if you score 3, we may concede 1 or 2, but we shouldn't be giving up 3 or 4. So Shaw has been ill. Him getting taken off makes sense. Well, that's what I kind of am leaning towards. I mean, him and Maguire were both ill. So I'm kind of leaning towards that's why Shaw was taken off, because maybe he was a bit more ill than Maguire. Maybe he didn't overcome it as much and he still wasn't, maybe he was feeling 50% and Maguire was feeling 75 or 80, and that's why Shaw got taken off. But we're going to find out, because I'm going to do the post-match quotes by Michael. I'm interested to see what he says, about the loss and about the way the performance went. It is the first time that he's had to deal with defeat. And, this is sort of another interesting aspect as well, because, it's all golden and it's all rosy when everything is going well and you're getting 3 points and, you're not suffering losses and everything is positive. We've now suffered a bad defeat, okay? A bad loss. All right, a loss that, by the way, none of our fans predicted, okay? Some people predicted that we would draw. Some people predicted we might sneak it with a 1-0 or maybe a 2-1. I went for 2-1. It was 2-1, but not in the way that I predicted. It was the opposite. And this is now going to be an interesting sort of test, because what is the response going to be? I think there's a bit of time, from this game into the next one. So maybe it's a good sort of period to take the L, okay, and sort of reset. And it's going to be interesting to see from Carrick's point of view how, he gets the team to sort of regroup and then respond to this sort of performance and then this sort of result, and see how they respond in the next match. You know what I mean? So, it also says, Box says, Fernandez seems a level above the rest, to be honest, in terms of quality, consistency, and ability. Well, he's really been on fire as of late, and he's really, found it. And he does tend to do this a little bit as well. Like there does tend to be a small period somewhere earlier in the season where, we worry about Bruno and we question Bruno a little bit and we say, he looks a little bit off of it and we're like, what's wrong with him, or, what's happening with him. But he does tend to find he does tend to turn up from that sort of at around this time. And, when he hits this period, he seems to really be, firing on all cylinders. He was absolutely marvelous in the last match against Crystal Palace. He was fantastic, man of the match, captain's performance. And he was really good today again as well. Like, he created a lot. His balls were really good into the box and finding players. The vision was very good from him. But I think other than, for me, I think Cunha had a very good game. And maybe Cunha's game wasn't as good as maybe I'm thinking about it, but I'm trying to think of, players that had a really good positive performance, and maybe because everybody else's performance was sort of, not so high, maybe made Cunha and Bruno look better. But, I'm thinking you're talking about Bruno seems to be above the rest. I think the only one that I would say today in a conversation with Bruno trying to make stuff happen or actually, in the midst of a battle, winning some duels, winning some challenges, was Matheus Cunha. I do think Lenny defensively, when you're comparing Lenny to Lenny over the past sort of 3 matches, I think Lenny put in a more confident performance for himself. He had to score. You know, with the head, he had to score. It wasn't as good as Casemiro, was it? The Ramsdale, very good save, but you know, he couldn't believe it either. So, Reynosa says my suggestion was to have had Ahmad start as Mbeumo had a few weak games in a row. Well, maybe that happens, you know, in the turnaround now. Listen, if the low was dropped for sort of, you know, a poor performance and maybe trending in that way, maybe, you know, maybe Diallo starts and Mbeumo takes a seat and takes a bit of a rest and, you know, keep that rotation going. I wouldn't be against it. So, still learning the process, though, to be fair. Casemiro maintains his stat of us not losing when he's on the pitch. Yeah, and so does Ugarte maintains that stat of us losing when he comes on the pitch, which is, if you're Ugarte, you're punching the air and hating life for that. The man advantage for a half and losing is the real kick in the balls tonight. Feels like we bottled the opportunity. I think we did. I was going to title the stream, you know, we bottled it. We did bottle it. We bottled it. I mean, in a football sense, in the terms, okay? You go up a man, you're expected to win the match, all right? And if you're losing, you're expected to make a comeback, all right? And we went in and we leveled it up. So we did the job that we had to by the end of the first half, okay? Because ultimately, we went up a man and we half threw it away by giving away the penalty. We gave them an out, right? And you know, Bruno gave away the penalty, right? And it was definitely a penalty. And then Bruno sort of rectified it with the free kick by putting in a good ball, and Cass helped him obviously by doing a good header and scoring the goal. And you go in at 1-1 at halftime, and as I said before, you just, you know, you play the scenario in your head. You're the manager. You're in the dressing room. You say, "All right, lads, we need to step up a fucking gear or two. We haven't been good enough. You're being soft. You're being too slow. We're up a man. Let's go out there. Let's fucking kill them. Let's get some answers. You know, and give them a little bit of direction. Start picking out plays, saying you got to do this. You know, change a couple things. Maybe for me, stop checking in so much. Start making and run behind. Send a couple balls over the top to the wing. See if we could get a couple more balls into the box. Sesko, don't come out of the box too much. Stay more in the box. Keep the line back there. Keep the pressure on them. See if we could turn some things around, you know? And you know, we sort of failed to do that. And then that is the real kick in the balls, because you think in there, well, we just got a bit of fortune tying it up at halftime, and you're expecting us to find another gear or two for the second half and get the second goal, you know, as early as possible in the second half and really, you know, have a go at Newcastle and hit them hard. And we just never did it. We never did it. Ugarte is too much of a drop in quality from Cass. We need to sign 2 center defensive mids this summer. Well, this is what I've been saying as well. Like, I just don't think that Ugarte has a future here. I mean, he was signed for Eric Ten Hag in a way of playing and the way we played it at one time, and it was, you know, different sort of system. And, you know, he hasn't had anything. For me, his performances over the time he's been here has been nothing short but average. If even if average is being nice, you know, you could say they've been below average. And so I just don't think he has a future there. And this is why I was, like I said before, I was furious about January. Because we got a guy there or two that we're questioning their quality. We got a guy there or two that we have to rely on till the end of the season that we are considering, and many people would say, well, you know, we don't think they're good enough and we would probably sell them in the summer. And then you go out and you get nobody. Because they were like, we're good enough to get top 4. And okay, it's not all dark and gloom. We're still in third. We got helped a little bit by Chelsea beating Aston Villa. Okay, no thanks to us, because we didn't do ourselves any favor. But at the same time, it's like, well, we're still level on points with them. Okay, and there's still 9 more matches to be played, and there's still a lot of points left on the table, and there's still a lot of opportunities left where, you know, you could bottle this position, and you could make it much tighter than it needs to be. And my whole argument the whole entire time was, it is unacceptable for a club like Manchester United to go into the January market and do no business when you can do business, because there's a player base of 500,000 plus players out there in the world, and there's no way you can't find a player to get into the team that's going to give us something of a bit of a cushion that we could use going down the line. And I always said Sonny Lemons was a signing we made for 18 million from the Belgium league, 23 years old. He had the impact he had. There's no way that we can't find somebody that plays in the midfield when we need 3 midfielders, okay, because Cass is leaving, and they knew Cass was leaving. That's what makes it worse. They knew Casemiro was leaving because that decision was made a while ago and it wasn't announced to us. They knew Cass was leaving, which if I knew Cass was leaving while we were going through that period of January, all right, I would have been even more pissed, because it's like, there's a World Cup coming. It's going to be a short and hard summer window. There's a lot of competition for the midfield spot. And we need 3 midfielders, because Ugarte ain't good enough. And Ugarte doesn't have a future here. And Ugarte is probably going to get sold. So why not get a guy, get him in? We're playing 1 match a week. It's easier on him. Transition him in. We're starting with Kobe. We're starting with Cass. We could use him as the third. And we could have used him today. You know, whoever it may be, whoever that guy was, we could have used that guy today. But the simple fact is, Jim and Wilcox sat there and said, no, we're a top 4 team. We're good. We can just, you know, we can please the Glazers by doing no business in January, because it's the first quarter of the business for the business. And we don't do business. We don't spend money in the first quarter. So, and that one, you know, it hasn't necessarily come to bite us in the ass up until now. But today we've gotten bit in the ass because of it. So, an old Casemiro in rejuvenated form is probably our second best player, and that's a bit of a problem as well when you put it in that context box, you know, and I do agree. Weekend ruin, we go again next week. Well, yeah. The one bonus is Liverpool and Villa both lost. Just a shame Chelsea for a thumping win. Well, yeah. I guess if you're trying to be a bit positive, I mean, Liverpool did lose. We did lose too, though, so. It's hard to balance that one out. City also pretty much blew their title hopes, yeah. But I don't know if that fills me with excitement. We're going to have to listen to Arsenal fans fucking, you know. I don't know which one was worse. I still can't make up my mind. Arsenal or City. Because City don't have fans, so I don't like them winning trophies because they're getting a bit too, you know, they're winning a bit too much for my liking. But also, I don't want to hear the Arsenal fans. St. James's Park has become a bogey ground for us. It looks like no win since 2020. Yeah. It is 5 losses in a row at St. James. Yep. Not a good one for us. Not a good one for us. Possibly or maybe 1 draw. Just a bunch of useless players, says Joe Bay 707. Ray says same 0. Sameness. Joey Bay says this is on the board. The owners, we needed midfielders. They said, nah, we good. I can see us going on a bad run. Well, hopefully we don't go on a bad run. But I was worried about this. And, you know, Carrick kind of did a job that I didn't, you know, kind of quelled my fears a little bit because I didn't know what we were necessarily going to get under Michael Carrick. I didn't know how it was going to go. And I was a bit worried about the team. He did really well, better than I expected. I think better than most people expected. And I was like, all right, well, maybe we can sort of get away with this. I still don't like that aspect. I still don't like the fact that you have to utter a sentence and say we can maybe get away with this. I don't think it is the level of Manchester United. I don't think it is the level of a big club, okay, that you have to utter a sentence and say, maybe we can get away with this. I find that quite disgraceful in terms of the standards that I would hold for my club, but just for a big club. You know, I don't think clubs that operate in the proper way, that are serious, that do the proper thing and, you know, open up the fucking checkbook and actually go spend money and don't worry about business, worry about the football. All right. I don't think Real Madrid sit there and say, well, we could spend money, but, you know, we could get away with it. You know, what? Let's take a shot on getting away with it. Why not? You know, I don't think, you know, Man City ain't going to fucking do that. Liverpool ain't going to do it. Or anybody else that's actually serious. And this is the problem that I had with this, you know. To be fair to the board, the caliber of player in Jan may have been sideways step in terms of a Sabitzer Amrabat level of player. Yeah, but I don't think they deserve sort of that benefit of the doubt from us because the Glazers are still here. If it was a completely 100% brand new ownership, I'd give them a bit of leeway. But they've made some decisions that I question them. And the fact that, for me, it's all about the fact that the Glazers are still lurking in the background and they own the majority of the club. And I always said, I was like, that window was, it's just Glazerish. Like, Ineos could be in charge of the football club, and I don't know what the details to the level of the, you know, the agreement they have between each other. I mean, if I want to be super cynical and super conspiratorial, okay, my mind plays a scenario of Joel or Avram, or both of them, basically going to Sir Jim and telling them, you ain't spending no fucking money in January. This is our club. We run this shit, and we ain't spending money in the first quarter. Sir Jim is also a businessman. First. So they've burnt all the good bridge, they burnt all the bridges for goodwill on that aspect to trust them in that fact. For me, I look at it more from a football sense, and I just think of the hundreds of thousands of players that are out of there. And I keep going back to this simple fact. If you can find a Senny Lemons, okay, you can find another player like Senny Lemons for a midfield. You can. You just have to be half decently good at your job. I mean, we have the largest scouting network out of every football club in the world. We probably have tabs on more players than any other club out there. So we should have somebody out there. I find it quite hard to believe that Sene is this, like, very rare diamond in the earth that doesn't exist anywhere else. I just think it's about identifying it and then making a decision to go after it and then get it done, which I think that they didn't do. I don't think Ugarte was the reason we lost today. He didn't do that badly. It's not really the reason why he lost. It's more of the fact that I've been saying this. If Cass or Mano doesn't perform particularly well, I look at Ugarte and I say he's extremely limited for the midfield. And if Ugarte and Mano struggle, we need to bring on somebody that, one, is going to help us win the ball back or help us level out the midfield battle. You know, if the midfield battle is leaning in Newcastle's way to 65 to 70%, we need somebody to come on that's going to maybe even the scales out a little bit. On top of that, that midfielder then, if we're in a position where we're looking for a goal, they need to be able to help us to create forward. And he's not that guy that fits that bill. He's not that guy that fits that bill. And so the problem is, it's not like Ugarte comes on and it's his fault we lose the game. It's the fact that there's nobody there. There's nobody there to the quality of the level that we would need when we get into a situation like this, when we face an opposition like this. Okay? Because they didn't even have, and just to put this into perspective, they didn't even have Bruno Guimaraes who is a top player in their midfield. And we, on our midfield, could not. Our midfield lost the battle. Just flat out lost the battle. Could not compete with Joelinton. Could not compete with Tonali. And, you know, if Cass and Mano are our two best options, well, then we were pretty much fucked in that midfield battle, weren't we? We weren't going to get the answer wasn't going to be get Ugarte on, and he was going to be the difference maker. Which in that situation, not solely on him, but in that situation, from a club standpoint, we need a difference maker. From a team aspect, we needed a difference maker. We don't have it. So that's where I go to look at the board. Malacia was in quicksand and Maguire was in reverse. Yeah. We lost today because of poor finishing, in my opinion. Well, yes, that was to it. Somewhat poor fitness, physicality, and minus Bruno, lack of any real quality. No, I mean, listen, the finishing had to be better. Okay, we had a couple chances. We didn't take them. It's not like we created next to nothing, but we didn't finish our dinner on some of them. I mean, Lenny and Mbuemo, those two for me. I mean, if you're going to miss one, you can't miss both, you know? And we would all make the argument, you got to score both. But if we're going to be a bit generous, if we're going to try to be maybe a bit balanced or whatever you want to call it, you can't miss both. If you're going to miss one, you got to score the other one. We missed both, you know, and that pretty much sums up our day right there. That pretty much sums up our night. That pretty much sums up our game right there. So, Carrick is limited tactically. You think so? Or is it he's limited by the squad being limited? I would pose that question. I don't know. I don't know if I would say he's limited tactically. I think tactically, I mean, if you look at sort of, he tried to have a go for it. He made subs in that, you know, taking out Manu, throwing on Xerxes, which is an extra striker, throwing Maguire up there. I don't think he's, I think if you don't do that, I think that would classify you as limited tactically. We've been on a good roll. I expect us to play the same way, and you're trying to build a basically a game model, a philosophy of how the team is supposed to play. You know, we're Manchester United. We have to have like a brand of football. We have to have an identity. So you got to go with it. So I wouldn't say Carrick is limited tactically. I think maybe when I look at it, what I've been saying the whole time is that bench makes me nervous for situations like this, for matches like today. We've been able to get away with it because we haven't necessarily needed it in some other games. Although maybe against West Ham we needed it. All right. And maybe at one point against Everton we needed it. But I look at that and that bench always worries me. Because I don't have, when I look at it and I say, we only have 2 attacking players. And Diallo is the only one that gives me confidence. Because we know what he can do and he does well. Xerxes, there was times where he didn't look good. He came on last match. He did well. I think today he didn't even, he did pretty good to come on as well, but wasn't enough. Wasn't enough to be a difference maker. And then you look at the midfield and you look at the rest of the bench. Okay, Malacia is not a player that we want. He shouldn't be here. He's not one that you say was safe with him there. Okay, you got the likes of Tyler Fletcher on there. You got Godwill Kokonki, okay, who are 2 youngsters. They're not going to touch the pitch in that situation. Maybe they should. People will argue. But, yeah, I mean, it's not the level of depth. I mean, listen, I would be remiss to put on Tyler Fletcher in that situation. A kid versus, those are men, yeah? Tonali and Joelinton are fucking men, yeah? Like, I would be afraid to put Tyler Fletcher on there for him because he's a kid and we got Cass and we got Manu and we got others out there with experience, loads of experience, way more experience than him, and they couldn't handle them. They couldn't handle him. And Joelinton specifically, no one on our team was able to handle that guy's strength that guy was having a fucking field day. That guy, if you could give him a button to press it, yeah, and he could play that match forever, he'd press it and he'd play that match forever. That guy was having so much fun out there because he was like fucking just ripping through everybody. He was untouchable. He was enjoying life. It was like probably the best day of his life out there. Nobody was doing anything to him. Nobody had an answer to stop him. Nobody. Not a single player. Carrick is still learning on the job in reality. Well, yes, in a sense, right? I mean, his CV is Middlesbrough. He's not, Luis Enrique. He's not Carlo Ancelotti. He hasn't done this for many, many years. He doesn't have this loads of experience. So, yes, he is still learning. I mean, that is just a fact. Ray says, we as a team, we didn't have appetite to win the game. It took 25 minutes in the second half to start doing something against 10 men. Yeah, that's been a bit of a concern over the last couple matches. I thought maybe they would, maybe we would show it a little bit more. But, yeah, I think we've gotten, I think, again, we hit sort of a bit of a wall where we slowed the ball down a little bit too much. And I would like us to be more direct. I would like us to be more direct. I would like us to be a lot more quick in the transition. And I think we slow it down a little bit too much. I think that plays against us. For the team that we have right now, we need to be counterattack quick, and try and put as much pressure on them as much as possible. I don't think this team, I don't really, I get Carrick does play a bit of a hybrid of possession, but I don't think this team's strong suit, it hasn't been. Our squad hasn't been. I think Ten Hag tried to do it. It didn't work well for him. I think Ruben tried to do it. It didn't work well for him. I think when we try and play this sort of possession, it doesn't bode well for us. We don't have the players for it. Those aren't our strengths. So, would you have liked to seen Jack Fletcher, Kone, Tyler Fletcher, Morehouse, or even Collier Gore given more of an opportunities instead? I mean, at this point, I would say yeah, because to a certain extent, Box, I would say if I'm looking at the team, okay, all right, and listen, I don't know what they're gonna do exactly with Ugarte, all right, but me personally, I'm putting him on the transfer list and I'm getting him out. So if I've made that decision, I'm saying, well, I got a guy here that I've already pretty much made up my mind. I ain't going to tell him yet because we're in the middle of a season and God forbid Cass or somebody gets injured. But I would then be sitting there and saying, well, we do have the likes of Jack Fletcher or Tyler Fletcher. Saku Kone, they sent him on loan. Okay, so he ain't even here. Collier is out on loan, so we can't use him. And I think Gore is out on loan, okay? But at this point, I would say, well, we got a couple young kids here, or one or two, whatever. And I got a guy that's not really going to be, he's not going to be here next season. So I might be leaning more towards giving the kid an opportunity. Maybe not in a match like today, but maybe in one of the other matches that we played that we were doing quite well, and maybe put him in for 10 minutes and, build him up a little bit slowly and get him prepared. And maybe I would have felt a bit more comfortable to the time we got to this match where we would be in this situation where I say, I've seen this kid play a couple minutes. I know what his strengths are. I know what his weaknesses are. I know what he can and can't handle. He's shown, a good level. And, I feel pretty comfortable throwing him into this situation, playing at St. James's Park, up a man, and we need something to happen. So would you have liked, I don't know what's happening to our midfield outplay. Well, it's just what it is. I mean, listen, Kobe, like I've said once upon a time, and I think a couple of us said it and a couple of us argued with each other over it. Kobe has talent, but Kobe is still a young 20-year-old guy, and he has still a bunch of work to do. And he's got some strengths, but he's got some weaknesses, and he is not the complete package. Okay? And sometimes he's a bit of a passenger. I think the role he's playing in right now, All right. He is, you can see he's being set to play a bit deeper. And I think many of us, whether we agreed on him starting or not under Ruben, I think we all from time to time said we kind of do like him when he's a bit more forward up in and around the box. He's good around the tight spaces. He has good touch. He has good sort of ball control in that aspect. Okay, he keeps the ball very close to him. He can handle the tight situations, but he's not really getting in that role, is he? His role is to sit a bit deeper. In fact, I don't understand why Casemiro is the one that is actually going more forward at times than Kobe. He's actually ahead of Kobe. Kobe is the one that is sitting deeper. So I don't know why, but that's what I've seen. And that's what they're doing. And and in that aspect, sometimes Kobe becomes a little bit of a passenger in the match. The presence is lacking a little bit. It is. You combine that today with Casemiro, who again, he's been really excellent for a good period of time, but every now and then it pops up and you say, today is the legs. The legs just are not able to keep up with these other guys. And it's not that he turned up and he's tired. It's just because those players have better legs than him. There's nothing you're going to do about it on that day. He's not going to, inject himself in the leg and all of a sudden, he's going to be flying. Like, I think Cass was pretty much doing what Cass usually does. It's just that Tonali has way better legs. Joelinton has way better legs, and it makes Cass look bad. It makes Cass look bad because you can see the difference in real time. And that's what it is. Our midfield, when you come up against a better, faster, stronger midfield, when you see it side by side, you go, well, there is definitely deficiencies there. In other matches, there might not be much of a difference. So it's not so noticeable. It doesn't look so bad. It doesn't feel so bad. It doesn't play so bad. But when you come up against a midfield like this, okay, I mean, you could be half blind. And you would notice the difference. And you would notice that there is a different level in the midfield there. Jack Fletcher has a 6-game ban. Oh, it was Jack Fletcher for using homophobic slur towards another player right under the ref's nose. Idiot. I did hear about that. I thought it was Tyler, but it was Jack. Which I was a bit like, I didn't know if that counted because I thought it was Tyler, and then I was like, well, how is he on the bench? But then I was like, maybe it doesn't count. But then I was like, usually I think they would carry it over. So, isn't Saku Kone out on loan? He is. He is out on loan. So, and I don't even like where we sent him out on loan, okay? I don't like we sent him to the Swiss League. Don't really understand it. He should be in the championship. But whatever. Lucky says João Gomez next season. We were going to lose games tonight. I had a feeling that noise speed was poor. Box is still a Hackney João Gomez possible January buys. I guess price range would have been 30 to 40 million. And why can't we spend that? Yes, maybe possible. Sure. Why not? I mean, we didn't even attempt. Box is the thing. It's and this is what I said at once upon a time. It's one thing to try and go and attempt. Okay. We attempted for Semenyo. Yes. We had money there. There was money there. You can't attempt for Semenyo and then say we don't got money and then say we're going to do it in the summer. You can at least attempt. You get rejected, you get rejected. Boo-hoo, cry. We don't give a shit about the optics for the brand of Manchester because we got rejected by a player or two. Okay? But we didn't even try because we didn't actually make an attempt. And why not? This is the thing. Like, I'm not giving them an hour on that. They don't get an excuse for that. It's one thing if you try and you get rejected. We tried. We can't force them to sell. But they literally sat there and was just like, they just closed one eye to it. And they were like, the other eye is on the summer. And so why not? We didn't know we were, if they truly believed we were a fourth place team, well, then why didn't they You know, and they want to gamble on it. I would have double backed onto them and said, why don't you take the gamble on that? You believe we're a fourth place team? Fine. We're gonna get the Champions League money. Okay? We'll have it. All right? We're gonna get a top 4 finish. We're gonna get the Champions League money. We're gonna get money for Rasmus. You're gonna sell Rashford. You know Casemiro's leaving. You're freeing up all that money from the wage. You're freeing up the money plus pure profit from Marcus Rashford plus his wage. Okay? And if you're doing your job, January, you're thinking maybe selling Ugarte, maybe Xerxes. You're looking at, you know, who's not performing particularly well, what kind of loose ends or weak links you got in the squad, and you're thinking ahead as well, okay? And we had money for Semenyo, so you're not going to take the money and try and get somebody for maybe 30, 40 million? Okay. Well, then, when we rock up to a game like this, and we have a midfield that quite clearly cannot compete, and then we don't have the necessary options for somebody to give us maybe a bit relief that's going to help us, that's going to take us up a level, and we suffer a loss like this, well, I gotta put it on the board. I'm all up for kids getting opportunities, but I don't think it's fair to depend on kids to pull us out of a pickle like today. Well, I sort of fit into that camp as well. Okay. But what I'm saying is, from a certain period, okay, maybe like the beginning of January, all right, I would have been looking and I would have been saying, like I said before, I would have had my mind made up. Ugarte's not staying here. There's not really a future in him. Yeah, we got to use him to the end of the season. It's a good option to have. But I'd be looking at a kid or two. If you're not gonna sign somebody, okay? If you're not gonna bring somebody in, all right? At the very least, maybe you should eye a kid or two and say, listen, we're not gonna throw him, you know, into the deep end with no floaties and let him drown. But what we can do is, in these upcoming matches, as an opportunity presents himself, we'll throw him on. We'll give him 10 minutes. We'll let him get a feel. Let's see how he performs. Maybe he does well. Maybe somebody of those kids, they take the opportunity, like a Kobe, that sort of bursts onto the scene, or even a Marcus Rashford at the time that he did it. Okay, because you never know. But you know, sort of baby them in a little bit. And if you do that from the beginning of January to March, whatever it is, all right. Maybe that player would have developed a little bit, and maybe we could have just, you know, been in a situation where we would have felt comfortable, been like, you know, if we did it to Tyler Fletcher, for example, maybe not him, but, you know, one of these guys, pick one, and we did it to them, and it went decently well. We would have been there and we'd been like, let's put him on. Let's put him on, because I'm sure those kids will be able to give us more attacking-wise, okay? When we're looking, we need to create, we need to score, we need something to lift us a bit, all right? Even in the midfield, would give us a little bit more than Ugarte can give us, because he's fairly limited. The only thing Ugarte would be able to do for us when Ugarte comes on is win the ball back. But you can win the ball back. He still has to lay it off to somebody, because he can't make the forward pass. You know, he's not going to find a pass like Bruno. He's not going to find maybe a pass like Kobe or like Casemiro. He's not going to do that. He can't do it. We're on 52 points. I'm going to get to Carrick in a second, okay? How long have we been live for? Anyway, I lost the time. I think an hour? All right, fair play. Zhao Gomez, Sandro Tonali need somewhere. Well, I don't need to see. I mean, I already knew Sandro Tonali was very good, but I mean, Sandro Tonali, if anybody was going to have a good audition against us, okay, Wharton didn't really do it. And I don't think Baleba really did it. I'll say Sandro Tonali did it. May have looked out of his depth at times. Yeah. With the pace. And I think that's why Ruben at one point wasn't playing him. And I always said that. And it's not a knock against, it's not a knock really, like, I'm not here to like destroy Kobe or hate on Kobe or whatever it is. But I always said in that system that Ruben was playing, he needed a runner, and it's very exposed to a certain degree. And I think, right or wrong, and whether it went well for him or not, there was a clear reason why he was putting Bruno there, because Bruno can run around and do all this shit. All right? And Meno sometimes can't, and sometimes does, depending on the opposition. But when you play a team like Newcastle, who are very physical, and they are also, listen, those guys have good speed to them as well. Like, Tonali has a good speed for a physical player. Joelinton has good speed for a big physical player. All right? And Newcastle are not a slow team. And Eddie Howe is a pretty good manager. And there was times where Kobe and Cass were just totally out of it. They couldn't keep up with the pace. They were losing their markers. They were getting, played out of the play. 1-2 pass, boom, they're out. They're out. The ball is past them. They're gone, We're not getting Tonali for less than 100 million. Well, we'll see how that goes with Newcastle. I don't know. They do have a bit of a circumstance there that could be less for 100 million. I think you're saying that based off of because of how well you rate him, but it's not always about how actually good they are. There's other circumstances that go into that. If the player wants to leave, the contract is going down. If they have a bit of some financial issues as well, if they need to sell players, and there does seem to be a scenario going on in Newcastle, because if they were in a good place, there wouldn't be talks of them losing Bruno Guimaraes or Sandro Tonali or Anthony Gordon. Yeah, so they are not in necessarily a strong position where they basically can just sit there and tell everybody to fuck off and demand as much money as they want for whatever player. So, United were slow, and Mbeumo needs bench. Amad Diallo, time him get start. Ideally, Meno would be a rotational player for like 1 or 2 more seasons, becoming more seasoned into a starter then. Well, I think it would also just help if you can sort of balance it a bit more. I mean, we talk about competition. We talk about maybe a bit complacency. We talk about sort of maybe indirectly becoming used to sort of the routine. I mean, again, if you're Cass and you're Meno, who's taking your spot? Who's challenging you for your spot? Because Ugarte, again, he's a drop-off to Cass, and he ain't doing things that Kobe can do. That the strength that Kobe has, his strengths. He don't got those. So they start every match. They're going to start every match because playing Cass and Ugarte is not the same as playing Cass and Meno. And playing Meno and Ugarte ain't going to be the same as playing Meno and Cass. Just hearing it makes you feel differently about it. So it would help. I would leave it to, I don't think it should be defined as Kobe Mano automatically is just a guy that is rotation. I also say that Kobe Mano isn't a guy that is automatically a starter. It has to have a balance to it. If Kobe's playing well, he gets to start. If he drops off, then the other guy gets to come in. If he's playing good, he gets to start. Or, whatever. But we don't even have that dynamic right now. We don't even have that choice. We don't even really have that aspect to be able to do. We can't do it. We don't have it. So, and that's also why, again, I was asking for a signing in January. And everybody was asking for something in January. But what I would leave it down to, Box, is I would say if Kobe performs to the level of a player that, like, if he's not performing to a certain level, I wouldn't just say like he's automatically a rotation player and there's nothing he can do about it or whatever it is. It's set in stone. But to me, it's just about balance. Like if he plays really good, he deserves the right to start. He should start and start as many games as he plays well. If he starts falling off or it's becoming quite average, that's the time you take the other guy, you give him the opportunity and see what they do. If they play exceptionally well, well, then Kobe's going to have to go to the bench and he's going to have to, earn his way back in. And then he becomes, I guess what you would say, a rotational squad player for the time being. And if he manages to up his level and he starts outperforming one of his teammates, and he can bring himself back in. But we don't got that. Rex says Cunha have been poor. See, I don't know. I thought Cunha had a good game, Rex. That's my buddy, by the way. Shout out Rex. See, I thought Cunha had it actually pretty. I mean, listen, I don't know in terms of a top game, but out of the players we had today on the pitch, I think Cunha was probably one of the better players, and then Bruno. Sesko was a bit, was stopped, a bit stuffed. Okay, and I think Mbeumo was poor today, and then Kobe and Cass were a bit hot and cold, more cold than hot. But I don't know. You're not the first person to say that, so maybe maybe I'm wrong or whatever. Or maybe people are just dictating in a different way. But you're like the third person to say that like Cunha didn't necessarily have a good game or Cunha's been poor. But I thought Cunha was having a good game. I thought Cunha was doing well. When he was getting the ball, I mean, there was at least two players on him. There was a few opportunities or a few times I remember during the match where, he was taking them on. He was getting past them. He was getting sort of into Newcastle's box. And, he got a shot off once or twice. There was that one shot that was a decently good shot from where he was. The goalkeeper hit it and it fell to Mbeumo, and Mbeumo fucking shot it over the net. Was a tap-in, and he should have scored. And I thought there was a lot of moments where Cunha received the ball in the game where there was 1-2 players on him, and he did very well to hold the ball up. So I thought he had a good game in terms of, I guess, if I'm comparing it to the rest of his teammates. But yeah, I don't know. After this season, Baleba should be valued at like 40 million tops. Well, maybe 60. Gerte has no pushing power on opposition player. He is a bit small in that sense as well. Anderson plus Mateus Fernandez, I'd look to sign with another center mid from abroad like Boidi. I think we do have to do something like that though. I think we do have to do something like that. I don't think we can do this 2 center mid thing. I think we do need the 3. We do need the 3 because I don't think Ugarte is going to stay here. And I don't think Ugarte has earned the right to necessarily argue to stay here. I think it's been pretty underwhelming his entire time here. And I see him a bit limited. I'm not here to, I don't want to like hate on the guy, and he's not the reason why we lost the match today, but I'm just saying in terms of building the team and making the team better and making the team stronger, for me, I do feel like we need to get like 2 guys that are at that stage where they're ready for the next step and they're pretty much, borderline ready to become sort of like mainstay starters to a certain extent. A lot of potential, a lot of room to grow, okay? Like Elliot Anderson, young guy, and even Mateus Fernandez, like young guy, okay? 21 years of age. But they've been playing in the Prem. They are sort of Premier League proven to that certain level. Okay? Like we know that they can do well. There's room to grow, there's room to improve. And then the third guy has to be maybe somebody like a Buati or somebody, whatever, maybe for a little bit less money. All right? We don't have to go crazy, but we need that 4th guy in there. We need Elliot Anderson or Tonali with João Gomez. Price good. Cunha was strong, but we have no midfielder. A rotational player will get a lot of minutes next season, hopefully. Champions League, maybe like 14 games, 38 EPL games, maybe 5 or 6 games in the FA Cup, and then League Cup up to like 62 games, maybe, or even. No, yeah, I mean, listen, they'll get game time for sure, match time. I sort of, the way I handle the way I would handle the situation as a manager is I always tend to pick whoever the best player is. So initially you have to make a decision. So I would go with maybe like what you're saying. Let's argument's sake, discussion's sake. Let's just say we get in 3 midfielders. We take the 2. We start them. Kobe, starts off as sort of this squad rotational player. Throughout as we're playing matches, if one of them is struggling or maybe just being quite average, and then we're putting in Kobe in his, squad rotation player, right? And he's coming on and he's doing good. At some point, just sort of like Sesko just earned his right to start. Okay? At some point, Mainu then has to earn his right to start. And if Mainu keeps it up, well, then Mainu becomes the starter. The other guy becomes the squad rotation. And then if it flips back around and Mainu's levels go down, you got to give the other guy the opportunity. Okay? And if he does better than Mainu, then it's got to go back around. And that's for everybody. That's for every position in every place with every player in the team. And that's how I would handle that situation. Now, obviously, I would need to be there in training to assess them with preseason and take a look at our midfield options that we would have and see who's doing what and see who's giving me what sort of feeling. And then I would make the conscious decision of saying, well, I like these two guys. They've been performing pretty well. I'm going to pick them to start with our starting 11 for the season. And we're going to go like that. And I wouldn't have, like, whatever bias it is. Whether that would be Mainu and a new guy or Mainu on the bench and two new guys, whatever it is. But my sort of philosophy is always may the best player win. And may the best player play. Bruno, Mainu, Anderson, Mateus Fernandes, João Gomez, Buwadi, 6 players for 3 spots equals competition and depth. Yeah, but that's a lot. That's too many. Well, 6 players for 3 spots. Alright, fair enough. Yeah, because it's like 2 each. I read it wrong, sorry. Initially. Could be. That's not a bad thing either to do. I don't know what we're going to do with Mason Mount. I don't know if he's going to be sold or he's going to stay, but yeah. Yeah, they got to be fighting. They got to be fighting. Nothing can be set in stone. But I would leave it open. And it's all about how they perform and who does what. So, if they come flying out the gates, if Maino, maybe he gets a little bit more strength, maybe he does some off-season training, he comes back and he's fucking, just like a level above off of, what he is right now, then, fine. You're doing it. Go ahead. Here's the opportunity. Take it. And if he doesn't take it, somebody else has got to come in. And that's always what I've been saying the whole time. Anyway, and that's what I've always believed. And I always felt like Ferguson did that a lot. And I learned it from him. So let me get to this real quick. If you guys want to keep chatting away. Thank you to everybody that smashed the like button, by the way. Greatly appreciate it. If you didn't, please do so. Massive help to the channel. If you're new and you subscribed, welcome to the community. Welcome to the family. Appreciate it. We are getting close to 3,300. Our big main goal target is 3,500. So we were, I know the counter says 3,290, but the actual number was 3,294. It updates in tens. So we were 6 away. I hope we're closer. Or I hope we hit it, and maybe we don't know. But I want to get to Carrick real quick. I think Lemons gave a couple of reactions as well. I want to kind of get to some of the quotes from these guys real quick. Yeah, I mean, listen, some people are still going on about the Amorim thing. I mean, as a guy that backed him, okay, I'll just say this. If we're coming out of a match today and we're starting a sentence and we're starting a discussion with the words, when Amorim lost to 10 men Everton, just stop the fucking conversation. Bro, he's gone. It's done. It's over. We don't need to hear anything about it. It has nothing to do with anything. I don't, again, these people get carried away with things. Very emotional, weird people. They have some weird emotional attachment to people that they don't even know exist. All right? I defended Ruben for the reasons that I defended Ruben because I thought it was the correct thing. He ain't fucking here. Today has nothing to do with anything. And if you, how you can possibly say when Amorim lost to a 10-man Everton and compare it to today, okay? It's not even the same. The only same thing is that they had 10 men and Newcastle had 10 men. The match didn't go the same way. Their circumstances didn't go the same way. The form is not the same way. They're not even playing the same system. They ain't even playing the same formation. None of it. So, Paul Scholes on Instagram. Michael has definitely got something special about him because United have been crap last 4 games. Night. Dude, what the fuck is wrong with Paul Scholes? I think Paul Scholes has hit his fucking head on something. What's wrong with this guy? What? I shit you not. I'm staring at Paul Scholes' Instagram story, and he posted, Michael has definitely got something special about him, ... because United have been crap last 4 games, ... night, with a kissy face emoji, and then wrote Tonali underneath that with a fucking heart. Bro, you know, I didn't want to say this, okay? But Roy Keane came out and said it the other day, okay? And now I'm starting to fucking apply it to the lot of them, all right? Roy Keane said he doesn't support Manchester United, which was a bit of a fucking shock to me considering how much we love him, okay? And how much we deem him as one of our best captains ever. And, you know, we hold him in high regard. And I was a bit shocked that he actually said on the overlap to Gary Neville that he is not a supporter of Manchester United. He doesn't support United. Meanwhile, he talks about United all the time. And I'm starting to think that Paul Scholes isn't no fucking supporter of Manchester United either. And I'm starting to think that all these fucking legends are the worst case scenario that some people have been saying, that they are living off of our name and living off of what they've done as a player, and they could give 2 fucks about actually our club. Because, I'm sorry, but any fan, I think even a fucking, even a Ruben lover, all right? Even a Ruben lover, all right, that didn't think Ruben should be sacked and is still butthurt about Ruben being sacked and is still sour about it. I don't think that even they would go on X and write that. I don't think they would go on social media and write anything bad about Michael Carrick. They might say something about Ruben and how he didn't necessarily deserve the hate he got for when something happened. But no actual, real Manchester United fan. Who the fuck says something like that? Who writes, Michael has definitely got something special about him because United have been crap for the last 4 games, night, with a kiss face emoji, and then writes Tonali with a heart? And you're a fucking United fan? I'm sorry, Scholes. You're a legend of the game, but you are a fucking disgrace. And I've had it up to here with this fucking guy. I swear. And if I seen him, I'd curse him the fuck out at this point. I would. And I know if he saw this, he'd say, no, you wouldn't. And I would. I would. Because I've had it up to here with this stupid, dumb bullshit. For clicks, likes, whatever the fuck it is he's doing. Money. You know, I don't know. You spent all your money? Are you fucking broke? Did you not invest it? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with this jackass? He's a fucking jackass. The first loss, first bad result, and then this cretin comes and opens his fucking mouth. Nah. I'll say this looking directly down the barrel of the camera, yeah? Fuck you, Paul Scholes. How about that? Fuck you, Paul Scholes. Fuck you. Disgusting. Fucking disgusting. Absolutely fucking disgusting. Bro, it's fine if you want to fucking critique and you want to criticize, bro, but that ain't it. Okay? You don't have to live up Michael Carrick's ass. Alright? You don't have to fucking think he's God's gift to glory or anything like that. You can criticize. You can say, like some of our fans have said tonight in the chat, that they think that, maybe he's a bit tactically, restricted, or whatever the word was, or that, he fucked up on the substitutions or whatever. That's like real, critique and criticism, genuine. To go on social media with the fucking millions of people that, follow him, okay, and to say something like that is fucking disgusting and is disgraceful. And for me, I'll always love him as a player, and he played the game fantastic, but as a pundit, he's just a fucking another jackass, isn't he? As a person, and this is why I guess they tell you, don't meet your heroes, because more often than not, you're disappointed. And I wouldn't have been able to meet him, but because of social media, I get to see how he fucking is, and it's sad. That's fucking sad. Really, really sad. So I was gonna do Carrick quotes, and that just fucking absolutely pissed me off, because I can't believe that. I really can't fucking believe that. Let me get these quotes. I want the full quotes, okay? So Bruno Fernandes, all right, maybe a little bit of, it doesn't matter in terms of the 3 points, but Bruno Fernandes, 9, has surpassed Ryan Giggs, 8, for the most assists away from home in the Premier League season while wearing a Manchester United shirt. Another one of those records for him. Good for him. But I want Michael Carrick's thoughts. So let me see who posted it. Let me get the full quotes here. Okay, I found them. We got to go back to the beginning. Lemons did a bit of talking as well. I'm interested to hear what he said. Michael Carrick has suffered his first ever defeat as Manchester United manager. That was his first defeat as a manager, by the way. Senny Lemons, we'll start off with him. He had a couple things to say. He said it's always a bad feeling to lose. It was nowhere near good enough today. He also said, we have to learn a lot from today, but we have to look through it. Everyone has an off day. We had a collective off day, which you can't really do at a place like this. We need to go back to the basics of before. Hopefully, this is just a one-off. We can learn from this, get the momentum again, and get back to winning way. Well, I do hope that this is sort of a one-off, but I'm a bit concerned because it's sort of been trending a little bit in this way, okay? The levels have dropped a little bit against West Ham. They dropped a little bit against Everton. They dropped a little bit against Palace, and they were low today. You take those 4 games, you compare them to the first 4 games, we didn't hit the same levels. So hopefully we regroup from this and we can figure out a couple answers to get them back up to what they need to be. Michael Carrick, we are not satisfied with our performance. We knew it would be difficult, but it was a match we could have won. We are deeply disappointed. Well, yeah, we absolutely have to be disappointed. Definitely can't be satisfied, not with that performance. We all said it would be difficult. It wasn't going to be easy. And it was a match that we could have won. I agree. Because you're up a man. You could go win it. You got to go do more. And I'm glad he said we could have won instead of we should have won. Because we didn't deserve to win. Not with what we did. Sunny Lemons, we scored our goal just before halftime. And it was really important to give us a good feeling going into halftime. And that's how I was feeling. When we step out onto the pitch for the second half, it needs to be better. I think our mentality needs to be better in every aspect. It was not our game today. And that is, first season 23-year-old has been here for 7-8 months. Senny Lemons, 6-7 months. Senny Lemons, 23-year-old, coming in and talking about that we came out in the second half and it wasn't good enough and it needed to be better, and our mentality wasn't good enough as a whole, as a team, and it needs to be better. So Carrick says, I don't think it was the 10 men. I just don't think we played good enough tonight. We can't make any excuse for that. We all take responsibility for that, and we know. Well, I would say, Carrick, it is for me it is the 10 men as well, but I also do agree that I can kind of split it and say, in general, I agree that, you know, it's not all about the 10 men. We didn't play good enough in general, in totality. But the 10 men aspect makes it worse because not only did we play that we didn't play well, but then we went up a man and we continued to not play well, which when you're up a man, it just makes it feel way worse. It makes it feel a lot more shit because in technicality, it is a lot more shit. I mean, if you have a man advantage and you can't take advantage of the man advantage, then it is shit. It makes it even more shit. You know, if we played the way we played and we lost to 11, yeah, you're still going to feel disappointed. You're still going to have your criticisms. You're still going to be, you know, sad, anger, whatever, about the match. But it's not going to feel the same level of a disappointment, and it's not going to feel as shit as when you start putting into context, we were up a fucking man for 45 minutes. You know. Carrick, I think he was asked why was the character lacking, and he said it wasn't. He said it was just the quality and the performance, not the character. We wanted to win. It's easy to throw that out when you don't win a game of football. I don't really. I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't think I would question necessarily their character on this one. But I did say that I don't think the quality was good and the performance wasn't well enough. And I wouldn't say maybe character, but maybe intent. I don't think their character was one to get hit on. I don't think their character was lacking. And Carrick said we weren't there in terms of quality. Credit to Newcastle, they deserved to win tonight. It hurts me to say that, but that's how it was. We need to get back to working and be better for the next game. We've lost one. We haven't played well enough, but in the grand scheme of things, but we are in a good position. Yeah, and listen, it's a bit of a back to the drawing board. We have 11 days before our next game against Villa, so a little bit of an extra extended period of time. Hopefully, we make good use of that, okay? And hopefully, maybe that benefits us and gives us a little bit of extra time to reset, all right? Listen, we will be live tomorrow, okay? It is quite late, so thank you to everybody that's smashed the like button. Thank you to everybody that got involved in the chat. And supported, both streams or either or stream. Appreciate you guys very, very much. Unfortunately, bad day for us, bad beat, bad display, bad performance. So, unlucky from sort of Carrick's and United's sort of standpoint. We had an opportunity really to go a good 3 points above Villa and be sitting on 54. And we're still there on 51, so it's a bit unfortunate. But listen, we will be back live tomorrow. Okay, we will be back live tomorrow, 8:15 p.m. UK. I think we're gonna have to. I expect a fair bit of news tomorrow because, listen. You're a United fan, but you do this for, you don't have to do it for the longest time, okay? I expect a bit fair of stuff to come out tomorrow, positive or negative, whatever it may be, okay? I do expect a bunch of stuff to come out tomorrow, so I think it's going to be a day for discussion. And also, I do sort of like to do another, sort of 24 hours after the match, after we've kind of all soaked it in and, maybe be a little bit less raw and let it sort of sit in a little bit and maybe sleep on it a little bit and then sort of discuss it again as well. So we will be back live tomorrow. I missed a couple of the chats, so I do apologize. But I can't go that far back. Box says Eric vs. Skulls, no holds barred pay-per-view coming soon. I'll do it. We'll do it for charity. We're about the same height, me and him. He's older than me. I'm a bit, I'm fairly younger than him. But give us the gloves, put it on. We'll do it for his charity. I think that would get a bunch of views. Paul Scholes fighting some random guy. Just some guy. He's some guy. He's just fighting some guy. He's just boxing some guy. But I think people would, that would be peak. Obviously, I think it would probably be bigger if, like, you know, it was like some huge personality like KSI or some shit that would probably go through the roof. But I think people would be like, wait, what the fuck? What's going on? Who's he boxing? Who's that guy? They'd still tune in to do it. We'll put it on. We'll do it for charity. We'll give all the money to charity. And I guess we'll give 25% to Skulls. You know, I'll take 0. I'll do it for fucking free. Even though Skulls should have more money than me. But apparently, he needs fucking money. Because he's like, you know, almost like an attention whore at this point. He's throwing himself out there for fucking, you know, likes and interaction and retweets. And he wants people talking about him. You know, and this is sort of the thing. Like, he's on a podcast now, yeah? He didn't have this podcast before. Now he's on a podcast. You know, so Skulls sort of making headlines like this. Well, you know, listen, I know the game he's playing. He don't really give a fuck, good or bad. He doesn't care. He's had the career he's had at United. People are gonna love him no matter what he fucking says because of how he plays and whatever it is. Okay, so he can go out there and he can make a big stir and cause commotions. So that Paul Scholes is talked about, and then the next time Paul Scholes drops a podcast episode, people go and watch it. I know the game they're playing. So, ideally, everyone is fully fit by Villa game, last 9-game push. Yep, Martinez should be back, and listen, he was saying Mount is close, so if he's that close, I expect Mount to be back for Villa. You got a good 11 days. You know, Martinez should be back, or Butcher should be back, which would be good. And it's going to give him a good period. Got 11 days to get up to a bit of speed. Maybe enough time for him to start. Okay? Where, like, we don't have to worry too much about the fitness. And he'll be all right. He'll be sharp. Mount should be back. I expect him back. Okay? Maybe players like Maguire or Shaw, they'll, you know, fully 100% recover. You expect them from their illnesses or sickness. I don't know about Mazawari, but hopefully it was just like maybe a minor knock and he'll be all right, because just in case we might need him. I think Dorgu is still a bit far out, so he's not going to make it. And I'm not too confident on De Ligt. I don't think De Ligt's going to make it in an 11-day period. So we'll see over the next sort of 11 days. I mean, you know, if De Ligt gets on the grass, it'll be positive, but I think he's not on the grass. I don't think he'll make it. So basically, everyone should be back. Besides, I'm guessing De Ligt and Patrick Dorgu, but Dorgu should be coming back soon. So top 5 is expected. We're doing well in course for that. Mason Mount has 12 days. Surely he recover quickly. Well, you would like. We should have a friendly in these 11 days. Maybe organize one versus like a league. 1-2 team to keep fresh and ticking over in a professional setting. Well, I mean, they have done in the past like sort of a behind closed door type of thing. I mean, they could technically maybe do that if they want, if they could figure out how to do that. But they haven't really done that this season. We had an opportunity or two to do it, and we just haven't done it. We've taken the time off. So I'm not really expecting them to do that, although I think it is maybe a good point box and maybe something they could do. And I would look, you know, if you're going to do something like that, yeah, I mean, you could set up maybe like a friendly behind closed doors just to keep the sort of momentum going. You know, but I don't know. We'll see. But listen, we'll be back live tomorrow, okay? It's really late. We got to go. Thank you guys. Appreciate the support. Thank you everybody that smashed the like button. Greatly appreciate it. All right. Take care. Enjoy. Have a good night. Boxers tough loss, but we have to go again. We have to go again. We got no choice. So we go again, and we will be back live tomorrow again. Okay. So 8:15 p.m. UK. Make sure you're there. If you can get there early, it's good for the channel. It's good for the videos. Okay. The earlier people are in there, the more that they're typing away before I even click live, the better YouTube likes it, okay? It's not me. It's YouTube's fault, all right? All right? The algorithm's fault. But, yeah, again, guys, just enjoy the rest of your night. Try and wind down in some sort of different, relaxing way. Take it easy. Be good, stay safe, and we'll see each other and speak to each other tomorrow, all right? Take care.